The Michigan Wolverines win the NCAA National Championship. They beat UConn last night 69-63. Michigan was the best team throughout the entire tournament, and they showed last night why they're the champs.
If I would have come in today, Chris, and you had not seen the game, and I would have just said 69-63, one team is only going to score 2 3-pointers the entire game.
Yeah.
One team is only going to shoot 38% from the field. You would have been like, congratulations to the UConn Huskies and Dan Hurley. But no, this Michigan team who had 12 wins throughout the regular season of 30 points or more, who going into this national championship game had scored 90 points in every single tournament game, blowing teams out by double digits. And we were talking about going into this game that if it were going to be a low-scoring game, advantage UConn. Advantage Dan Hurley and the Huskies. But no, Michigan proved this is why they're the best team in the country. Because it doesn't matter what kind of a game that they're in. They can score 95 if they need to. They can score 69 and win if they need to. They can get into a physical rock fight style of a game with one of their starters injured and still playing through an injury, only making 2 threes the entire game, having a poor shooting night, whatever it is. Michigan found a way and proved why they deserve this and why they're the best team in the country.
Yeah, my takeaway with Michigan basketball this year is that, you know, obviously they set that record of scoring in 5 straight games, 90-plus points in the tournament. So they can score the basketball. But my lasting image was kind of the suffocating defense, and that any time you saw someone go to the rim, you saw multiple bigs come over and try and block a shot. And that's what we saw last night is the defense showing up for Michigan. 6 blocks for the Wolverines last night. You have Johnson Jr., Gale Jr., both with 2 blocks each. And it felt like any time UConn had a chance to kind of make a run or string a couple buckets together or here you go. You have an open chance at a layup. Mm-hmm. It felt like Michigan was there to clean up the glass, to block a shot, to defer as a UConn player was going to the rim. And that, to me, is going to be the lasting image because, like, when we look at the collection of players, the transfer players who come in, who go together for a year to win a championship, like, it works. And maybe the lasting image will not be that this is one of the greatest teams of college basketball history, even though the stats would suggest that's what they have. Is we just saw an all-time great tournament run. And I think because of the transfer portal and because you may only have 1 or 2 guys make the league from this collection of players who won a title last night, I think that's going to be the long-term lasting image of this team is great defense. They could score the basketball, and they blew out everyone. And Connecticut tried to hang tough, but when it got to the end of the game last night, they really couldn't do enough to win.
No, and you're right about the NBA thing. I mean, looking at a mock draft here, Lendenborg's the highest guy I see drafted here, and he's mocked like 13th, outside the top 10. So you don't have a top 10 NBA player on this roster for Michigan, but it didn't matter because you've got guys like Cadeau and you've got Lendenborg and guys just playing well in clutch moments. Like there was a point in the game, early in the game, where only 2 players from Michigan had all of their points deep into the first half of that game, like about halfway through the first half of that game. So they were trying to find ways, and the pace was slowed down the way UConn wanted it to be, but either team couldn't make a shot. It was some ugly basketball for the first half and the start of the second half of that game. And then you can talk about the foul discrepancy between Michigan and UConn, but then I can also look at and say UConn made 7 threes last night. Like, this is a team that is coming off of a historic performance for them in making 3-point shots, and they were making shots late in the game. It just wasn't enough. And if one guy is going to complain about officiating, it's going to be Dan Hurley. Yeah. And even after the game, he was like, no, it's not. They were the better team. It's a physical game.
Michigan was the better team.
Absolutely. And that's and at least one UConn head coach took the higher ground in losing a game. So which is surprising.
It is surprising
that it was Dan Hurley and not Gino Auriemma.
Yeah.
But when Michigan started to pull away in the second half of that game, that's when you're like, okay, this is the Michigan we saw against Arizona. This is the Michigan that we saw throughout the tournament. And to UConn's credit, they started to mount a little bit of a comeback and made the game tight a little bit at the end. But with about a minute and a half left, Michigan started making more shots, and it was a three-pointer that put them ahead, and that was kind of it. And then you do the fouling back and forth at the end, and Michigan is a well-deserving the best team in the tournament won the national championship game.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. This is what the final call sounded like last night on Westwood One Sports.
2 seconds with one. He throws it to half court. And since 1989, there's been a blank space in the Michigan trophy case. Will write their name. Michigan, the 2026 men's basketball national champions. They knock off UConn 69-63 to win the school's second men's basketball championship.
Kevin Kugler on the call, Westwood One Sports. You can listen to all of the tournament right here on Westwood One Sports, the Westwood One Sports app. And shout out to all of the hard work of everyone here at this company putting together the broadcast of the Final Four, the championship game. Listening to the game last night was fantastic. And Abdalla mentioned the physical aspect of the game, and Dan Hurley took the high road. He did not complain about it. This is Dusty May post-game talking about how the game got physical in the second half.
Early in the second half, the game got a little bit chippy and physical, and so we thought this is going to be a game we just have to figure it out. We started going offensive, defensive early, offensive, defensive substitutions early, and UConn was dominating us on the glass. Credit to them. They were as motivated and determined as any team we played on the offensive glass, but we did feel like we were defending well enough that we were going to be able to find enough baskets.
So that was Dusty May, post-game champion. Michigan beats UConn last night. You know, Abdalla, like that's where one of the things, you know, I mentioned to you, like the lasting image of the Michigan Wolverines winning this title is like, based on the statistics, you could argue one of the best title runs we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. One of the best college basketball teams we've ever seen. But because of Lindenborg just not being necessarily a top 5 pick in the NBA draft, I feel like when you compare it to some of the great all-time teams in college basketball history, that's the one piece that kind of sticks out when you go through some of the teams. Like the short list, the UConn Huskies in 1999, they had Rip Hamilton leading that team. That team went 34-2. They won the national title. They won the Big East. They won the Big East tournament. So like that team for the first championship for UConn, they had Rip Hamilton, NBA star, right? Like he turned out to be a great player. If you compare to other teams, the 2001 Duke Blue Devils, they went 35-4. They won the national title. They won the ACC. They also won the ACC tournament. That team, Jay Williams, Shane Battier, Mike Dunleavy Jr., right? Like loaded with NBA talent.
Yeah.
How about the 2012 Kentucky Wildcats? They went 38-2. They won the national title. They won the SEC. They were led by Anthony Davis, right? Like super phenom player who was the Wooden Award winner as a freshman, Anthony Davis, leading college basketball in blocks and also being a player that was just devastating on the offensive side. So when we look at some of the all-time great teams and you pluck out that one specific run, usually it is led by a phenom who is able to get the team to that spot, who then goes on to greatness in the NBA. And sure, to Michigan fans around the country and the great state of Michigan today, we don't know the answer to that. Maybe we look back and Lindenborg becomes a 10-time All-Star and someone who has great success in the NBA, and we look back and we go, remember that team that he was on for one season at Michigan that won the title?
Yeah.
Like that. But when you compare to the other greats in college basketball, I think that's where this era of transfer portal and where college basketball is at right now, it's tough to compare to past.
I think it is too because of that very reason. You know, when we discuss Indiana winning in football and the turnaround, you know, that Curt Cignetti had with Indiana. Now this is not as dramatic as that. Michigan is obviously a school that they're not as made fun of as Indiana is in football. Michigan, they've won a championship 37 years ago. They had the Fab Five. Like, this is a team.
It's deserved.
Of course.
Indiana football was the second losingest program in college football history.
It was absolutely. But Dusty May comes in and does the same thing in 2 years because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, because Michigan has a gigantic NIL fund. He came in and flipped this program, and in 2 years won a national championship. And they're the second odds-on favorite to win, behind Duke, of course, to win it all again next year. And it doesn't mean that they're going to. Like, all these guys weren't on the team last year. That they're starters. These are all transfer portal guys. So, I mean, and none of them are probably going to be on the team next year. So it's something that we talk about in the college basketball landscape now, is that this is what you have to do. And when we talk about coaches either coming from the NBA or coming back to coaching, like we have been with Billy Donovan and the UNC job, is, are you equipped to do this?
Right.
Are you equipped to go through? And now Dusty May's got to recruit an entirely new squad. Now, having a national championship banner makes it a lot easier. Having a ton of NIL money makes it a lot easier. But in just 2 years, just like Indiana, he came in, completely flipped the program around, and now they're national champions. And going back to how dominant they were and how they won last night, I saw this stat last night. In the NCAA tournament, teams are 1-50 all time, scoring under 70 points, shooting under 40% from the field, getting out-rebounded, and shooting under 15% from three.
Yeah.
That won Michigan last night. So they were basically, if you go by that, somewhat outplayed and still won the game. You heard Dusty May just say it. They were out-rebounded, and they still found a way to win the game. That's just how good this Michigan team is. They can morph into whatever kind of game their opponent is bringing to them. Score 90, sure. Score 70 and win in a rock fight, sure. That's just how good Dusty May is as a coach and getting these guys ready for last night's game.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the great equalizer is the stat that you did not mention there, because, true, they shot 38% from the field. They shot 13% from three. The Wolverines last night, 2 for 15 from deep. They were out rebounded 46-39. The great equalizer, though, is the foul line. Because Michigan is more physical and they are able to take contact and get to the basket and get to the foul line, they shot 25 of 28 from the free throw line. That's the game. That's the game right there. That's the difference, because Connecticut only got to the foul line 16 times. They converted 12. So they made 12 free throws compared to 25. That's the difference in the basketball game right there. And Elliot Cadeau, he got to the foul line 9 times and made 8. So that right, you know, and to your point, right, like, you're able to figure out a way to win, even though the statistics show that Connecticut should have been the team that won this game. They kept it low scoring. They made more three-pointers. They made 9 three-pointers last night. They out-rebounded Michigan. They played the game they had to play last night to keep this close to try and win it. They just didn't get threes to fall late. You know,
that was it. Yeah.
If Mullins hit a couple threes at the very end, you have like a 4-point ball game, a 3-point ball game, and then you start doing the fouling and going back and forth, and you actually have a chance. But essentially, they couldn't get that last one to fall to make it a 1-possession game. Michigan did a great job of having it be either a 2 or 3 possession game down the stretch run. So, you know, the foul line, that, to me, that's the difference in last night's game. It was the blocks at the rim for Michigan and also hitting their free throws.
Yeah, you got to make your free throws. I do think that it kind of does balance out a little bit when you talk about the 3-point shooting from UConn. Like, UConn's 3-point shooting kept them in that game. They were tied close to the end of the first half with about 3 minutes left in the first half at 25, and then that's when it separated. After the first half, Michigan never looked back. It got close. I will bring up the stat now that you know, Dan Hurley is 12-0 against the spread from the Sweet 16 on. He did cover again last night. So if you're listening to us yesterday with Josh Graham and he said he liked UConn he liked Michigan in a close game, It was Michigan in a close game. Great teams cover. Shout out to Dan Hurley for once again covering in a close game in the Sweet 16 and on. He's now 12-0 against the spread, which is crazy to think about in the Sweet 16 and on. But I think that when you have, obviously the free throws matter late in the game when you're trying to put away the game and it gets into that back and forth. But I think that every time that Michigan got to the line, UConn would respond with a three, and then they would get to the line, and then UConn would respond with a three. So it kind of evened out until late in the game when UConn couldn't hit a three, and Michigan was getting to the line repeatedly.
Did you stay up for the late night activities post game? Did you,
what happened?
Well, everyone's favorite item after the game. You got to stick around.
Run out into the streets of Ann Arbor and go to Zingerman's and celebrate and all that kind of stuff.
Hell, if you're in Ann Arbor and that's what you did, then that's awesome. That's great.
That's a good sandwich.
No, at home, the late night enjoyment.
Oh, no.
Ernie Johnson and Kenny the Jet and Clark Kellogg and Barkley. You got to get Barkley's thoughts on the tournament because he's really breaking it down.
Yeah.
But did you stick around for one shining moment? Did you? I know it's such a special item in sports. Did you stick around?
My channel was changed before that first piece of confetti hit the floor. Before they even 3, 2, 1. Before I didn't even. If you would have told me,
the final call is going off and Abdalla is already flipping.
If you would have told me that Dan Hurley walked off the court and didn't shake hands, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
Because I did not see it. I went to something else because I saw the game. I don't need. What do I need to see? I need to watch one shining moment.
Do people really stick around for that?
Some people do.
To sit through the inside conversation about the game. The half the players on the set didn't even watch. Are people sitting through that?
History buffs, I think, do.
Are they? History buffs are waiting for one shining moment.
History buffs are like, what happened last weekend?
Like
what happened 2 weeks ago? I forgot. How did we get here? What were the moments that shined the brightest?
I have to raise my hand, though, and be truthful with the audience. I saw one shining moment last night. I saw it.
Why?
It was because I was too late to pull the trigger on the remote.
Find the remote.
I couldn't find the remote.
It
fell
was
between
in
the cushions
Where is it?
of the couch.
Turn it off.
I couldn't find it fast enough.
Turn it off.
But honestly, it scared me almost because like Ernie's there just pontificating and Kenny the Jet, and then you have Barkley, America's guest, is there giving his thoughts on the game. He doesn't sound like he watched it, and so there's going on and on and on like it's inside the NBA. And I'm like, how long is this show going to be on? And then Ernie Johnson looks at the camera and goes, and now our tradition or whatever he said and threw it to one. And I was like, wait a second. They're going to one shining moment.
They got to
now?
edit it together. You got to add the moments from the tournament game. It just happens.
They've got placeholders in there for the championship game.
It just
They're working on it during the game. You know how this works. You know how TV works. It's all put together. There's placeholders there.
They just put in the highlights?
Yes. The final two clips.
What, the highlights of the free throws? It's just hitting a free throw for one shining moment.
I'm just saying. So I saw it. It happened. I just want to let you know that they played it once again.
I'm glad that we went another year.
Yes.
With one shining real version?
Yeah.
Luther?
Yeah.
Not the 1 year we strayed from the light and went away from Luther.
It wasn't like Miley Cyrus or Jelly Roll. No, it was.
Could you imagine
how bad that would be?
Oh.